I have to say, I do feel some sympathy for any administration that finds itself inheriting war. We inherited wars as well. President Obama had a line that he liked to use, which is, it's a lot easier to start wars than to end them. You know you're going to be criticized for whatever happens after the fact if you bring that war to a close. In many ways, it's easier to just go with the momentum of staying in a conflict. But at a certain point, the reason we have civilian control of the military is so that we can look at these challenges and not just say, okay, do the generals want more resources in this war at this particular time? But how does this war fit into the broader national security interests of the United States? If you had asked somebody in 2002 why we were going into Afghanistan, I think they would have said, we're going to get bin Laden, we're going to get the terrorists who carried out the 9/11 attacks, and try to make sure that there's not an al-Qaeda safe haven where they can carry out 9/11 style attacks again. That was the objective that we went in to achieve. And frankly, we've just about achieved that objective. And I don't think it's in our national interest to add to an already trillion-dollar war in which we've lost thousands of Americans by biting off more than we need to chew in Afghanistan. And I feel like that is what President Trump has signed on to now. And I think what's frustrating to me is we have not learned the lessons of Iraq and Afghanistan in the way that I feel we should, which is that the U.S. military can accomplish a lot in taking out terrorists and denying them a safe haven and training foreign security forces. But we cannot become the police of these countries. We cannot become the government of these countries. And I worry that what we're learning is when we get into these wars, there's a logic of always staying there in perpetuity that extends beyond, frankly, the national security interests of the United States or our economic interests here at home. I completely reject that criticism that giving a timeline of sorts allows the Taliban to wait us out. They live there. They're Afghans. They're not going to leave and go someplace else. And I don't think that it's at all a premature notion that we need to set a sunset on our time in Afghanistan when you've already been there for 16 years. And what Trump, I think, just did is essentially indicate that at least for his time in office, we're going to be in Afghanistan in an open-ended way. These are choices. Every person you send into harm's way could potentially be harmed. Every dollar you spend in Afghanistan, you're not spending elsewhere. Every counterterrorism resource that you put in Afghanistan could be applied against ISIS someplace else. While I feel a degree of sympathy for the need to deal with a war that has been ongoing for nearly 16 years in Afghanistan, I do think, frankly, it's a responsibility of the President of the United States to say, I'm the ultimate decision maker, and if I believe that there are other national priorities and that this goes beyond the mission that we should give our military, that I can say to the generals, you know what, we're going to take on a more limited mission here, and we're going to ask more of the Afghans here, because we've done our part, and now it's time for them to do theirs.